Jaws. One of the most iconic posters ever created, Jaws delivers a masterclass in visual marketing. Its haunting image, a great white shark surging upward toward an unsuspecting swimmer, is both simple and brilliantly conceived. The shark's exaggerated size, combined with its cavernous mouth lined with jagged, uneven teeth, creates a deeply unsettling effect. It's a striking, visceral image that instilled fear in swimmers everywhere and kept people wary of the ocean for an entire generation. Raiders of the Lost Ark, another piece by Richard Amsel. This poster perfectly captures the youthful spirit of adventure and excitement that defines Raiders. Created for the film's 1982 re-release, it offers a more dynamic and energetic composition than his original design, which featured a simpler image of Indy with his whip slung casually over one shoulder. Star Wars. Drawing clear inspiration from the dramatic flair of pulp legend Frank Frazetta, Tom Young's theatrical poster for Star Wars channels a similarly bold, heroic energy, one that could almost pass for a Frazetta-style Conan illustration, complete with a sword raised triumphantly overhead. Built around a classic good versus evil theme, Young cleverly uses the lightsaber's distinctive cross motif to contrast against the ominous darkness of Vader's helmet, visually expressing the central moral conflict. The typography echoes the film's iconic opening crawl, tying the composition together with a sense of scale and cinematic grandeur. E.T., the Extraterrestrial. Inspired by Michelangelo's The Creation of Adam from the Sistine Chapel ceiling, this poster reimagines the iconic composition with E.T. in the role of God and Elliot, modeled on designer John Alvin's daughter as Adam. The visual cleverly echoes the film's underlying sense of wonder and spiritual allegory, resulting in an image that has stayed with audiences ever since. Although later marketing shifted to Amblin's now famous flying bicycle silhouette, this original design remains the most striking and emotionally resonant. Vertigo. Title sequence and poster maestro Saul Bass created enough iconic imagery to fill a list of his own, but his disorienting design for Hitchcock's Vertigo is arguably his finest work. Using Lysajuice spirals to evoke the film's signature sense of dizziness, the poster is both simple and strikingly effective. Its hypnotic composition not only captures the essence of the story, but also translates seamlessly into the film's unforgettable opening titles. Alien. A poster now synonymous with Ridley Scott's chilling space horror, despite bearing little resemblance to the xenomorph eggs seen in the finished film. Built around a deceptively simple image, a cracked egg emitting an eerie glow, resting on a slick bio-organic surface, it pairs perfectly with the title's stark, widely spaced typography. The result is an image steeped in foreboding, elevated further by its haunting tagline. Not bad for what was, in reality, just a chicken egg coated in plaster. Jurassic Park. No tricks here, but then none were needed. The park's logo against a simple black background, and signed off with the inspired "An adventure 65 million years in the making." Instantly identifiable, and says all the information with simple elegance. Testament to the fact that sometimes less is more. The Silence of the Lambs. While a red-toned variation also exists, it's this stark, bleached image of Jodie Foster that remains the more iconic and unsettling of the two. The death's head moth commands attention at the center, its skull-like marking formed from intertwined female figures inspired by Salvador Dali's In Voluptas Mors. Every element, the muted palette, intricate detail, and the moth's deliberate placement invites layers of interpretation, yet even without analysis, the effect is unmistakable, a haunting, deeply chilling image. Drunken Master. the movie that launched Jackie Chan to stardom and also as the next great martial arts, kung fu, action star, Back to the Future. Famously shown in the posters for both sequels, this piece by master illustrator Drew Struzan brings together all the film's defining elements: Marty's signature outfit, the DeLorean, and those blazing tire tracks, into one striking composition. It's a perfectly balanced image of motion and character, topped off with a simple, clever touch, Marty glancing at his watch, because of course, time travel. Chinatown, put together by Richard Amsel, the man behind poster art for The Sting, The Dark Crystal, and Flash Gordon. This quintessentially noir artwork has Jack Nicholson's P.I. J.J. Gittes cast in shadow, the Godfather. The image of Marlon Brando as Don Corleone is undeniably powerful, his black tuxedo dissolving into the surrounding darkness. But the true centerpiece of this poster is the iconic puppeteer logo. Adapted directly from Mario Puzo's novel cover and refined by legendary designer S. Neil Fujita, the stark black and white graphic communicates the film's core theme of control and manipulation with striking simplicity. Ghostbusters, the most iconic logo in cinema? Quite possibly. In fact, stack it up against the world's most recognizable symbols, and it would likely crack the top 10, alongside the Christian cross, the American flag, and Superman's chest emblem. The instantly recognizable "No Ghosts" sign was designed by the film's art director John DeQuire, though the concept itself originated with Dan Aykroyd, who referenced it directly in the screenplay. The Usual Suspects. Legend has it that Bryan Singer and Christopher McQuarrie first conceived The Usual Suspects by imagining a poster, a lineup of criminals standing shoulder to shoulder in a police station. Remarkably, that simple back-of-the-envelope idea made it all the way to the final design, capturing the film's most memorable image with clean, understated effectiveness. Back in 1995, the posters gained extra notoriety when vandals began scrawling Kaiser Soze's true identity across billboards. Train Spotting. Superb artwork that manages to sum up a national mood, a subculture, a generation, and a film all at once. Train Spotting's iconic choice of orange, its character-defining lineup poses, and a swaggering quote from a certain film magazine ensured its place in history. Goodfellas. Top billing quirks aside, Robert De Niro over Ray Liotta. Despite Liotta being the film's true focal point, this poster is a stunner. Three suited figures loom out of the darkness like ghostly mafioso, hovering over their victim with an almost spectral menace. It's a beautifully composed image, steeped in shadow and implication, capturing the film's tone in a single frame. As for that unforgettable line, I like this one. One dog goes one way, one dog goes another way, and this guy's saying, "What do you want from me?" The Truman Show. Photographic mosaics are commonplace now, each one seemingly built from thousands of tiny images of pennies, if you look closely enough. But back in the late 90s, this poster felt genuinely innovative. It works especially well as a visual metaphor for Truman Burbank's existence, constantly observed through a web of reality TV cameras, distilling that idea of perpetual surveillance into a single, cohesive image. Blade Runner. From the pen of John Alvin, an illustrator who appears more than once on this list, comes this classic image, as hauntingly beautiful as sea beams glittering in the dark near the Tannhäuser Gate. The curling smoke from Sean Young's cigarette subtly nods to the film's noir sensibility, while the neon-lit cityscape and Harrison Ford's futuristic weapon hint at the cyberpunk world that lies ahead. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Jules Verne's classic brought to life again. Batman. It's hard to imagine now, but in the late 80s, Batman wasn't widely seen as the brooding, grim vigilante we recognize today. For many, the dominant image was still Adam West's camp, 1960s interpretation. This sleek, minimalist poster design helped shift that perception, doing much of the work in redefining the character and ushering in a darker new era for the Caped Crusader. The Driver, Walter Hill's underrated but highly influential classic, an acknowledged favorite of Edgar Wright, was matched with a striking poster that remains one of its most elegant. It cleverly fuses characters and key elements into a single unified form, rendered in soft, muted pastels and delicate illustrative touches. Even the finer details, like Bruce Dern's distinctive hair, are given careful attention, adding charm and texture to the overall composition. Star Wars Episode I: The Phantom Menace. It may not be as subtle as it believes itself to be, but in hindsight, this makes for a near-perfect teaser for the Star Wars prequel trilogy, distilling the entire tragedy of Anakin Skywalker into a single, ominous silhouette. It's bold, direct, and hugely effective. Now that's poster design. Gone with the Wind. The 1967 re-release poster for Gone with the Wind hits you with a full blast of old Hollywood spectacle and a level of visual seduction that still feels audacious. It's hard to know what grabs your attention first. Rhett Butler's rakish open shirt, Vivian Lee's daring low-cut gown, or the burning city of Atlanta blazing across the background. Even the typography leans into the excess with its bold declaration of being the most magnificent picture ever, exuding a confident, almost shameless grandeur. Forbidden Planet. For a certain generation of viewers, Robbie the Robot was a gateway into an entire universe of science fiction gods and monsters, and his futuristic form takes pride of place in this image, a true nerd's vision of paradise. The film's influence runs so deep that both its legacy and its iconography have endured far beyond the screen, even lending its name to a beloved cult bookshop. The Exorcist. Prolific poster designer Bill Gold hits gold once again with this instantly recognizable silhouette. Drawn directly from the moment Max von Sydow's Father Merrin arrives to begin his grim task, the image reflects William Friedkin's fascination with German expressionist lighting and Gothic horror atmosphere. Striking in its simplicity and mood, it quickly became a staple on student hall walls. Anatomy of a Murder. Another of Saul Bass's many masterpieces, this design pairs seamlessly with his equally iconic title sequence. The simplified, almost abstract depiction of a corpse distills the themes and premise of Otto Preminger's courtroom drama into a bold, immediate visual statement. Its striking orange and yellow palette only heightens its impact, making it instantly recognizable and unmistakably distinctive. Metropolis. This shimmeringly beautiful work of Art Deco futurism, in the archaic three-sheet format, comes from the hand of German graphic artist Heinz Schulze Neudam. Such is its fame that a rare original copy of the poster, thought to be one of only 4 in existence, recently sold for $1.2 million at auction. Halloween. Proving that even a humble pumpkin can be made deeply unsettling, Robert Gleason's acrylic nightmare stands as one of the most striking horror one-sheets ever produced. Michael Myers himself is barely shown, reduced to a single looming hand, yet his presence dominates the composition. That effect is reinforced by the tagline, where the italicized "he" carries an unnerving weight, suggesting far more than it explicitly reveals, and letting imagination do the rest. Apocalypse Now. Hypnotic, disorienting, hallucinatory, and enigmatic, the Apocalypse Now poster mirrors the film's own descent into surreal intensity. Marlon Brando's looming shaved head dissolves into a shimmering sun like a heat-warped mirage, while the helicopters above take on an uncanny, almost insect-like presence. With this and other works, Bob Peak cemented his reputation as one of Hollywood's most sought-after poster artists, often regarded just behind Drew Struzan in the pantheon of greats, the Rocketeer. Disney's often underappreciated Art Deco-styled superhero film was introduced with a fittingly elegant teaser poster, its design steeped in period detail and streamlined Deco aesthetics. As stylish as it is, the artwork was later partly blamed for the film's poor box office performance, as it notably omitted any of the cast. Timothy Dalton included, fresh from his turn as James Bond, leaving audiences without a clear sense of the film's star power. Rosemary's Baby. Mia Farrow's face controls this poster, her face in profile swamping a hazy green background with the eerie silhouette of a pram set against it. Advertising creative and real-life madman Stephen Frankfurt was responsible for the design and a pioneer of making title sequences, posters, and trailers uniformly branded. Moon. Echoing the hypnotic, kinetic style of Saul Bass, this striking design for Duncan Jones's debut comes from London-based All City, a studio known for producing some of the most inventive and distinctive posters of recent years, including work for La La Land and The Death of Stalin. Minimal and graphic in execution, it still manages to capture the isolation and creeping paranoia of Sam Rockwell's lunar confinement, distilling the film's psychological unease into a clean, evocative visual form. Scream. The obvious route for this poster might have been to spotlight the film's villain, Ghostface, or to lean into a direct riff on Edvard Munch's The Scream. Instead, the designer opts for something far more unsettling, an extreme close-up of Drew Barrymore's face, her eyes vividly highlighted in glistening blue. In doing so, Wes Craven echoes the strategy Alfred Hitchcock used decades earlier in Psycho, placing his most recognizable star front and center only to remove her from the story early on. Breakfast at Tiffany's. Some posters do as much as the films themselves to build iconography and mythology. This Breakfast at Tiffany's design transforms Audrey Hepburn into a symbol of socialite aspiration, redefining Holly Golightly as the ultimate cafe society dream girl, long before the era of the manic pixie trope. It helped cement an enduring cultural image of elegance, whimsy, and effortless sophistication. The Social Network. The Social Network wasn't the first poster to kick off the big letters over a face trend, but it's arguably the most memorable and most effective. The oversized tagline, set in Futura, David Fincher's preferred typeface, doubles as a sharp, economical distillation of the film's premise. Meanwhile, the unusually left-aligned title subtly echoes the Facebook interface, playfully mimicking the platform's branding and layout. As with much of Fincher's work, even the marketing feels meticulously authored, bearing his unmistakable stylistic fingerprints. The Thing. The ultimate in alien horror, proclaims the tagline, and the poster itself delivers exactly that in what may be Drew Struzan's most striking work in the genre. What makes it so effective is that it doesn't directly depict any specific moment from the film. Instead, it distills its mood into something far more elemental. Pure Struzan, it was reportedly created from the thinnest of briefs, with the artist knowing very little about the story at the time, yet still producing the finished piece in just 24 hours, the paint barely dry before it was whisked away by courier. Fear and Loathing. In Las Vegas. A Ralph Steadman poster for a film adaptation of a Hunter S. Thompson book feels almost inevitable, given how long the Welsh illustrator's chaotic, explosive style had been entwined with Thompson's gonzo journalism. As expected, it's a perfect pairing of sensibilities, surreal, unruly, and vividly unhinged. Johnny Depp's likeness is twisted into a Dali-esque fever dream, capturing the hallucinatory spirit of the source material in full acid-fueled flight. First Blood. First Blood presents Sylvester Stallone's John Rambo as a solitary, battle-worn figure emerging from darkness, his muscular form half-lit and partially obscured by shadow. Stripped of excess detail, it emphasizes isolation and raw physicality over action spectacle, aligning perfectly with the film's more grounded, psychological tone. The bold typography and stark composition communicate threat and vulnerability in equal measure, setting the stage for a character study disguised as an action film. Lord of War. Nicolas Cage takes on a distinctly Lord Kitchener-like presence in this brilliantly simple poster for the arms trafficking drama Lord of War. At first glance, it reads as a straightforward portrait, but a closer look reveals the concept's clever twist. His entire likeness is constructed from bullets and shell casings. The result is a meticulously assembled mosaic of militarism that doubles as both image and message, and it works to striking effect. Mean Streets. Martin Scorsese's breakthrough film is matched by a similarly striking poster, offering a stylized vision of Little Italy's darker undercurrents. The familiar architectural details of New York, fire escapes, stoops, rooftop water towers, are reimagined in a bold, graded graphic treatment. Johnny Boy's smoking gun cleverly doubles as a high-rise chimney, fusing character and setting into a single, evocative visual shorthand. Little Miss Sunshine. A strong example of a color palette carrying seamlessly from film to marketing, this heartwarming Sundance hit is saturated in yellow, from Paul Dano's t-shirt to the famously unreliable VW camper van, and even into the poster's expansive negative space. The design captures a key running gag from the film, with the family forced to push start the van and leap aboard in motion, freezing a moment of kinetic chaos that still retains its warmth, humor, and sense of togetherness.